Welcome to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella, and today my friend is Justin Bird. He was an elite level squash player, an excellent personal trainer. So, shall we dive in? Firstly, who are you?
I'm Justin Beard.
Nice. Yeah. What do you do?
I'm a personal trainer for Push Your Limits Personal Training and dabble in running and play a bit of squash whilst I'm at it. Yeah.
All right. So what's your earliest memory of being fit?
Yeah, I thought about this one. It's a tough one.
Everybody likes to have a think about this question.
Yeah. Look, I was pretty slow in picking up that I was fit, but I probably when I was like 15 or 16, I realised, okay, yeah, fitness is a thing. Having said that, when I was attending a gym for like 4 months, riding my bike 20Ks there, 20Ks to squash sessions, and riding probably like 300Ks a week, doing all these squash sessions and gym. And it was only 4 months later that I noticed I had like a bit of a muscle on my arm, and I was like, oh, it's the gym work. So yeah, pretty slow on picking that up.
Yeah. Did you play sport while you were a kid as well?
Yeah, so I played sport all through my childhood. We grew up in a town called Casterton in Victoria.
Yep.
Its claim to fame, well, their big goal was to get 2,000 people by the year 2000. My family and I left in 1999, so we probably put a big dent in those plans when 4 of us left. But yeah, so anything you could possibly find in country towns, you play. Hockey, squash, tennis, you name it. Nice.
And then moving to Adelaide, your kind of like sporting adventures got bigger and better then.
Yeah, so I mean that was kind of the plan. Rather than branching out and playing more sports, I played less sports. It was more, let's focus on 1 or 2 sports, and it just turned out to be squash.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Let's go into your squash career.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Well, where do you want to start?
The beginning.
The beginning. So yeah, I started playing when I was living in Casterton, which is a small country town in Victoria, just across the border from Mount Gambier.
Oh yeah, yep.
And there were two courts there. You would go to the local kiosk and get a key with a $2 deposit. You walk down to the courts, open up the courts, and put 20-cent coins in the in the light meter. So if you got really lucky, it got jammed, and the lights stay on forever. But yeah.
Did you ever make up like a fake 20-cent coin size?
At the age of 9, I hadn't probably saw that far, but like someone else probably could have. Yeah. So I mean, that was probably my first. Where squash kind of picked up. My parents played a lot, so just following them to the courts. Played a tournament in Victoria, Portland. Mm-hmm. Not sure if you heard of Portland.
Along the coast, right?
Yeah, it's along the coast. Yeah.
Yeah, well, is it like Mornington way, or is it the other side of Lake Geelong?
Oh no, it's about. It wouldn't be more than 150 k's from Casterton, so yeah, way.
Like Geelong side of the coast.
I couldn't tell you.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I played a tournament there just a bit of fun, and as a 9 or 10-year-old, it was probably 9, and then I was playing against guys that were 2 years older than me. Didn't drop a game. Went to Melbourne, thought, okay, let's see, who's going to beat me here.
Yep.
Won that, and then kind of went from there, won a state title that year in under 13 novice. So under 13 novice, or novice means haven't been playing competition for more than 12 months.
Okay, yep.
So yeah, won that, and then it was at that moment my parents decided, maybe we should move to a city, and move to Adelaide. But by that time, I'd already decided that I want to be a professional squash player. Not a lot of money in squash, but the experience that I picked up, I went pro when I was 19, got to a high of 98 in the world when I was 26.
Yep.
And
so did that entail travelling around Australia and the world playing?
Yeah. So generally, there's an Australian tour where it would start in Darwin. So you'd start in Darwin, then the following week you'd be in Alice Springs, and the following week you'd be in Perth. Then you drive to Kalgoorlie, then you drive back from Kalgoorlie to Perth, and then the next week you're back in Adelaide playing the Barossa Open or Millicent Open, and then you play the SA Open. You get 2 or 3 weeks break, and you're off to Victoria.
Yeah.
So that was the Australian circuit.
So you literally did the left side of the country on tour.
Yeah, exactly right. And then then you try to, like, later in the year you'd have the Queensland tour. Quite often there was an Asian tour as well that we'd go and play. Good thing about playing the Asian tour, it was all in KL.
Okay.
So and all at the one centre. So Bukit Jalil, which is where they had the '98 Commonwealth Games.
Yep. Well, I was born that year, so I don't remember.
Beautiful. Well, it's there. And they all had all the events at the one place. They really favoured their home players, so you wouldn't get hot water in the showers in the lead up to the tournament.
Yeah.
You'd have to like hop in the shower. It's like freezing cold. It's not even room temperature. It's just like
the one that when like you get in, it takes your breath away, kind of cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, every
lovely.
time it's like the water's coming out of a freezer.
You know, I actually wouldn't mind that.
In Malaysia, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, because it was so hot and muggy, you kind of needed something to ease you into it. But yeah, so the second the home players started playing at the tournament, that's when the hot water came in.
So is that when you went to the showers then?
Well, I was showering all the way through. It was very, very muggy, but yeah. So had a crack at the Asian tour as well, and then in my final years got into Europe, and I found my coach. It was a bit unfortunate that I found him so late, but yeah, the last 3 years I found my coach in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And so first year was 1 month, next year it was 2 months, and the following year it was 2.5 months. That's kind of where the squash went, and you had some really good experiences. You know, Malaysia, we had to speed down the highway probably like 40 k's an hour over the speed limit because we'd slept in for qualification. So if you're 1 minute late for qualification, you're thrown out of the tournament.
Yeah.
So that's when they pull out the draw. And then when I went to Turkey, I found myself on live TV.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was
well, for a good or bad thing.
No, it was all about their first tournament. So in Istanbul, that was their first tournament in Turkey for professional squash players, and just one thing after another kind of worked in my favour. So the number one seed was meant to do the interview. His flight was being delayed, so he wasn't able to do the interview. I walked in with my roommate from Denmark, and he was like, you know, nice, big and strong, you know, all Danish kind of guys. And they asked if we want to do the interview instead. And he's like, yes, I wanted to, but I was a bit shy, so I didn't say anything. And so he's like, yep, no worries. And then we walk onto the court, we start doing our warm-up because we had to play the qualification that night.
Yep.
Get a tap on the glass. Hey, Rasmus, sorry, you're playing first, so you won't be able to do the interview. Justin, would you like to? Yeah, sure. And here I am thinking it'd be kind of something like this, you know, you chuck a microphone in front of my face and let's have a bit of a chat. Got whisked out of the centre by 3 p.m. They said you've got to be ready, you can't be late. All right, no worries. Bit of a confused face that I was pulling at the time, and we whisked out and driving down the streets of Istanbul, which is a beautiful place, by the way. If you haven't been, you've got to go. Yeah. And go to a shopping centre kind of like Marion, and I don't remember a lot about the shopping centre because a lot was going on. But we sit down and they're like, well, what do you want for dinner? Because I had a match in like 3 hours, and what do you know about Turkey? Like,
good food.
Someone goes, what's the most famous thing about Turkish food? What would you say?
Oh, I like the bread and the dips and everything.
Okay, I said kebab.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I want a kebab. And they're like, no, we can't give you a kebab because it's going to be too, you know, it's not going to be good for you before your match. I was like, yeah, no worries. So they pull out this massive dish of food, and I tuck into that, and then they go, well, we're going to interview you. Like, you're going to be interviewed. I'm going to be your interpreter. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be broadcast to live in studio, live studio audience, live television network to 13 million followers.
Jeez.
Yeah, like every
if
week.
If that's not your claim to fame.
Yeah, it's almost, yeah. So, I mean, I've got the video of it, and there was a TV at one end and a TV at the other end, and they'd ask me 2 questions in the 15 minutes. It was all in Turkish. And I just found myself, like, staring at the TV. And
was it not translated at all?
My questions were, every time I heard a Justin, then I'd be like, all right, I'm in. But, yeah, so I found myself kind of tuning out, and even in the footage, there was a kid picking his nose, and you know, so it was riveting TV. What
was the questions? Do you remember what they asked you?
Yeah, so kind of like this, you know, how did I get started? Why squash? They were really interested in trying to work out, you know, because no one's really heard of squash. You know, I go to schools and I coach kids at the schools, and the first question I ask is, has anyone heard of squash? And a few kids put their hand up. And I go, yeah. Granddad used to play, and mum and dad used to play, and
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of that. And if you go back in the 90s, there would have been like 30 or 40 squash centres that were there that are now gyms or
Like
childcare
multi-complex kind of,
centres.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you look around and you're in a building and they've got weird shaped walls and a couple of red lines, that's probably a squash centre that's
Yeah.
been knocked down. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. So from there, that was your peak of your career,
Yes, yeah.
and that was 98 the highest you got.
98 was the highest I
Pretty impressive in the
got.
world, though.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I didn't think I'd ever crack the top 100.
Did you have sponsors by that stage too?
Yeah, so sponsors in squash, equipment sponsors. So I had racket sponsors, and I was lucky that they also they also made shoes as well. Clothing, not so much, but again, you wear whatever you get, whatever you're given.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's nothing monetary. I was The AIS had a system where you had to be a certain rank by a certain age, and they brought that in um, a little bit later than I needed them to, because when I was younger, I got to 128 just off the back of qualifying for the Australian Open twice, and then when they brought this new system in, my ranking had dropped a little bit, and so I was underneath what I needed to be. So
right. Yep.
getting that extra help would have been huge.
Yeah.
I missed out on Sassy by a year as well.
Oh, God.
Before they kind of disbanded the squash scene. So there were a few, bit unlucky a few times around.
So
But
you pretty much just kind of live off prize money, and there's not much of a salary going around.
nah. So prize money was minor. Like, prize money would get you week to week.
Yep.
I worked at a squash centre called Carradinga Sports Centre, which is just across the road from Civic Park.
Yes, yeah.
It's now, so there's no more squash there. That's getting knocked down as well, like the squash side of things.
Yeah.
I think the building itself is protected. But yeah, so $10 an hour I was working there. So 30 to 40 hour weeks, get enough money, pay for my next flight. First round. So in the tournaments that I was playing, they were low tier to start with in Australia. So you get knocked out in the first round. Is a $52.75, depending on the Aussie dollar compared to the US.
Yeah.
And that's the first round. If you make the semis, which I was pretty good at making semis and nothing more, but yeah, it was 370.
Okay.
So I mean, it's enough. It's like, oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you think you're training every day and playing for flights, and that's your payday, that's your paycheck at the end of the week, it's not.
They're great.
It's not amazing. You got tennis players complaining, $750,000 a year helps them break even. So you kind of look at it and you go, oh, all right, I'll take 750.
So the Commonwealth Games, is that where you got to then?
Commonwealth Games, I got into the Commonwealth Games squad. That was when I was 26, so that's the year that I retired. So yeah, I was number 8 on the list of 8. A guy named David Palmer decided that he was going to come back and play that year. So that would have pushed me to 9th. But then someone else had to pull out. And it allowed me to go on my only Australian kind of tour with the team. And that was to Darwin. We played the doubles trials. Mm-hmm. And the doubles trials, they lower the tin. So I'm not sure if you know anything about squash.
Not to that depth, not like certain words and stuff.
Yeah, so you got 3 lines on the front wall. You got the outline, you got the service line, and then you got the low line, which is anything below that is the tin. So you're not allowed to hit anything on the line or below.
Yep.
And they lowered that by 4 inches, and 4 inches is quite a lot. So when you spend 20 years playing to a certain height, every time you hit a shot, if it's going up or if it's going down. But now you got 4 inches to play with, which is a huge deal. So yeah, I got to play there. I didn't actually get into the team, which I wasn't expected to that year anyway.
Yep.
Probably when I was 30, 32, that's probably when I would have got in. But the guy, David Palmer, ended up winning 2 or 3 gold medals that year. So fair enough.
You allow him to get in.
He's a legend of the sport, so he was allowed to walk in and then just take the medals and then walk out again.
Yeah, right. And so after that, when did your kind of pro career end, and then what did you do after?
Yeah, so pro career, which is going to probably answer one of your later questions, but pro career ended really suddenly. I was in Philly, and I was on a Skype chat to my wife, well, fiance at the time, wife now, and our plan had been to move to America once she completed her uni studies. Being away from home for 6 months of the year, me having to still pay rent on the other side of the world when I'm
Yeah.
not even living there, and I'm not making much money anyway. It was quite tricky and challenging, and I was homesick. And you go through a stage in your life where you don't want to be away from anyone other, like you can be away from anyone other than your parents. You need your parents around you at all
Like
times.
that support crew is really
That's
important.
absolutely. And then that goes to, well, somewhere along the lines switched to, I only wanted to be around Charmaine. And so her being wherever she was and me being, somewhere else, just wasn't really working.
Yeah.
And the plan was, we'll move to America once she completed. She had 2 years left. And then we'd be done. Like, I'd be able to have a real crack at the squash. And up until that point, hadn't really been able to have a crack because
Yep.
I'd been working on the side and then doing all sorts of stuff. So that was the plan, and then started to get a bit of insight. Well, that she wasn't really keen on that move anymore. Something had changed, but she wasn't prepared to tell me straight out.
Right.
So we're on a Skype call, and I said, "Look, let me know." Like, I had 2 weeks left in the US, and I had one more tournament, and that was in Saskatoon. And I said, "Look, are you gonna go? Like, do you want to go?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "I'm retiring." And
Wow.
it was
Things you do
literally,
for love.
yeah, exactly right. It was literally that quick, and it hadn't been something that I'd planned, but she had decided that she didn't want to go, and I knew that there was no way I could keep doing what we'd been doing.
Yep.
And so I quit just like that, and had to. I didn't even tell my coach, so I was living with my coach for the 2.5 months, and we've been training every day and twice a day, and just been putting in really hard work and making some really good improvements. So goodness knows what my ranking could have been the following year, but um, yeah, I didn't really know how to tell him I'm quitting.
Yeah.
So
Hectic.
yeah, very hectic.
And
Yeah,
then so you came back to Australia then?
came back to Australia and really struggled to find my feet, like most athletes, no doubt. You spend so long doing one thing.
Yeah, that transition out if you don't have a backing with something else.
Exactly right. And my plan had always been retire when I'm 32, become a PT when I'm 32, and then transition that way.
Yep.
And straight away I've made this change, and it's, I'm 26 and what I want to do. And so I started my PT course, but then just that kind of just floated a little bit. So I didn't really complete it. And I worked at a service station for 3 days,
Yep.
just down Newton Road, OTR. That lasted 3 days, and then they told me that they wanted me to work overnight on my fourth day for $16 an hour, and I said no, by myself as well. If there were other people there, I would have absolutely done it, but there's no way I'm working for myself or by myself at a petrol station.
Yeah,
And then
especially.
I think my manager was 15 years old at the time, so and
Okay.
I was 26, so 25, 26, and then I worked for the Cancer Council.
Yeah.
So I was one of those annoying people that as you're walking in to get your bread, I was like, "Hey, my name's Justin. Do you have time for chat?" And everything was scripted, and I didn't like it. And you get told so often, no, 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 and you get told sad stories, of course. And uh, signed up one person in my 2 days, 2 or 3 days, and then I was like, I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
out. So that one
Was
was
that
a
for
bit
like the
tough.
raffle when you walk in like the shopping centres? Or was
It
this?
was for donate, like
Yeah, like
ongoing donations.
Oh, okay, yeah. But
Yeah.
like, where were you located? Like in a shopping centre, or were you door knocking, or?
Outside the shopping center. So
Yeah.
everywhere we go, you find out the morning before like where you're going, and then you head there. And I was like, nah, can't do it, because you had to go by the script. Like,
Oh,
and you couldn't just have a genuine conversation with someone.
yeah. That's when
Uh,
you probably would have got more, but
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I work better when I'm having a genuine conversation with someone.
Yeah.
If I'm scripted as to what do I have to say, yeah, then I struggle.
Yep.
And then I worked 2 weeks at a fruit and veg place in North Adelaide, and it was a 2 week trial, and the manager came up to me the day before my last shift, and he said, "Look, we've we've been pretty unlucky with staff. We've had quite a few duds, and unfortunately, you're a dud." I looked at him with a really confused look on my face, just like, "Sorry, call me a dud." He's going, "Yeah, you're a dud. Would you move this slowly around a squash court?" And I'm like, "I don't really think you can. I don't think you can compare the two.
Fruit
Like,
and
look,
balls.
yeah. Look, if you tell me what I need to do, then I'll do it. But no one really gave me any instruction, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
my first look at the real world, and it, I realized pretty quick. Working from 6 to 12 wasn't bad in the
Yep.
morning. That was all right, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing there, and no one was really instructing me. And yeah, that was the end of that. And then I walked out of there. I got on the phone to my boot camp instructor and I said, "Do you still want me to work for you?" And she said, "Absolutely." I was like, and then that was that.
Yeah, nice. So that was the start of your fitness career.
That was, yeah.
And then where'd you go from there? So what happened in between starting and then starting your own business?
So I was doing my Cert 3, Cert 4. I completed my Cert 3 and then I started working for Boot Camp Plus, and
Yep.
they worked in the city.
Okay.
There were two or three different boot camps around that one area.
Yep.
And it was Ange Mondello, so she's a swimming coach.
Yep.
Works with the Dolphins. And she was great. She's a little pocket rocket. She's about no taller than 5 foot, and just screaming instructions at big guys like twice her size. And there was this whole, you don't respond to a question unless you say "who ya, Sarge," and or like if you
like a whole commando setup.
You understand me, who ya. So if you didn't do who ya, then you have to do burpees and all that kind of stuff. So it was really like
hectic. Was it like a lot of corporate kind of setup as well?
yeah, look, they did corporate, but these were just a bunch of people that had come from North Adelaide Fitness Centre.
Oh yeah.
So when I first started, I as an athlete, I was sponsored by North Adelaide Fitness Centre, which is no longer North Adelaide Fitness Centre. It's Bowden Gym and Co.
Yes.
I think it's run by Aaron Ramsey, and so he took over from Pete Conroy, and when my trainer at the time said, "Oh, do you want to join us for some boot camp?" And I was like, "Oh, what time's that start?" He's like 6, and I'm like, didn't realize 6 a.m. was a time, like. And once I got into it, I was like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever." So yeah, I'm backtracking a bit, but went from there and started working for Ange, or working with Ange, whilst I was Cert 3, and then just going through my Cert 4 and whatever. And then realised pretty quickly, once I got my Cert 4, that working for $40 per session, but then having to come in early and then leave late wasn't probably going to work for me.
It's actually over a couple of hours rather than...
it's over a couple of hours, and then you look at the rates, and then $40 an hour is pretty good, like if you're just working a standard job, but that's when your taxes and all that are covered.
Yeah.
Not so much here. So I was like, oh, okay, that's probably not going to work for me. Coming all the way from I was Modbury at the time to the city, so it's 30 minutes in, 30 minutes out, and then an hour and a half to 2 hours in there. So
it turns into like a 3.5, 4 hour job rather than just a 1 hour session.
Yeah, and here's your $40. Thanks for your day. And it's nothing against her. That's just the way the industry kind of runs. So I was like, all right, well, I need to probably look at doing some stuff for myself, and that's where I got into working as a personal trainer for myself.
Yeah, nice. From there, so Push Your Limits started then?
So Push Your Limits personal training started 9 years, because this is our 10th year.
Oh, how good.
Yeah. Not bad, considering like your average life, a career span of a PT is 3 years.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit flawed, seeing as there's so many people coming into the industry and they're not working in it. So
a very overpopulated industry that a lot of people think, oh, that's a good option, let's go and do it.
Yeah, great option. Why not?
Yeah,
anyone can do it.
Yeah. But so I reckon everybody can do it, but there's only a certain percentage of people who stay strong within it.
Yeah, exactly right. If you're not in it for the right reasons, then I had someone line up a meeting with me. He said, "Oh, I really want to talk to you about personal training." Yep, no worries. Line up a meeting on a really busy day, and he sits there and he goes, "Well, I've got this product and I want to sell it, and I think the best way to sell it is to become a PT and sell it to my clients." I think that's a problem. You're already, you're not there for the client. You're not there for the person. You're not there to help them with training. You're there to sell them something. And
Yeah.
I think, and I told him very quickly. I said, look, if you're there to the clients aren't dumb. They know if you're there to sell them anything. All they're there for is your PT, and if you're not there, if that's not your main goal, they're going to see right through you, and that's it. I think people, you talk to people about personal training, like, oh, have you ever had a personal trainer or whatever, and they go, oh, nah, I don't like burpees, I don't like being screamed at, I don't like,
Or
early
the other
mornings.
thing is, like, they're so expensive.
It's so expensive, and I don't like trying to set up my schedule around their schedule and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that. You really don't find the positives, and I think Biggest Loser was a big problem with that.
Yeah, I think they put a very big, like, kind of picture on, like, screaming trainers, and, like, you have to be severely overweight to go to make a change.
Yeah, and I think, it really did it did the industry a real disservice.
Look, it was a great show at the time. I enjoyed watching it.
I loved it. I loved it too. And then
but it really screwed up the other side of the industry.
Yeah, like if you wanna work in the industry, like you got people going, well, I didn't lose 5 kilos this week.
But you're not in a house controlled with dietitians.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like they were barely getting any food. So one of my clients was on The Biggest Loser.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to name drop, but he's a leading. Well, he used to be on radio, and he's currently got his own show on Channel 7.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
And
like a big guy in Adelaide, hey?
yeah. So
is this a guy who ate many pizzas a day before he went on the show so he could get on the show?
Potentially. So
I heard a rumor about this same guy that he got a membership to Next Gen just so he could sit in the cafe.
He was given a membership.
Okay, given a membership.
He was given a membership, but he didn't want to go. It was just
he took photos of his membership card in the cafe.
Yeah, so they wanted. It was at a time where Next Gen, I think they probably still do it. They get all their celebrities and they give them memberships, because there's a lot of people that go to Next Gen and they go, oh, well, I go to Next Gen because, and I get to rub shoulders with, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, well, I do that. I go to Next Gen, but I do it because it's the only place in Adelaide that you can swim outside all year round.
Yeah.
That's like my only reason to go there.
Well, yeah. So I used to train that guy, and the information that they were passing on to us as viewers was completely different to what was actually happening. So your check-ins weren't weekly.
Oh.
It wasn't weekly check-ins. He said, I think from memory, don't quote me, but it was 14 days was the earliest time between check-ins. Mm-hmm. So 14 days.
Yeah.
And these are big people, and they probably don't necessarily train day to day. So all of a sudden now they're training maybe 3 to 4 hours in a day, and they're being like really starved of calories.
Yeah.
And this guy got back home, and he said he basically put all his weight back on and some, because nothing about it is sustainable.
And it was so over controlled that it's not able to make possible when you're back in like a working daily life. Yeah,
it's TV.
Of course,
like everything is for the viewers. It's not. I don't think the safety of the contestants was thought about,
considered. Yeah,
because you look at some of those weigh-ins, like in their final show, when you're seeing ribs and you're seeing hips popping out, and like people just didn't care because they wanted that money. Of course. Like, it was only $100,000.
But still, I think $100,000 15 years ago was huge.
It was, yeah, but not to the point. Oh, let's almost die. So not great. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Can't even remember your question, to be honest.
I think we were talking about your business. So to now, where's your business sitting at? Well, how many sessions are you doing a week?
Yeah, so...
Plus you work for me.
Yeah, plus I work for you. A lovely group of people. So I got to a stage where I was doing 40 sessions a week.
Yeah.
And as a mobile trainer, where your sessions aren't in the same location each time, and it's 40 sessions plus travel. So
it turns into like a 60-hour week.
60, 70, and then you've got, all the other side of things, your social media, and just your admin, keeping track of everything. So I'm probably down now to about 15 to 20, which is kind of where I like it, but I'm also going online.
Okay.
So I'm kind of taking my PT into an online format.
Yep.
So that I can do more of the stuff that I want to do. So I'm going to uni, and I've got a family with 3 kids, and we've got 3 animals in the house, and we've got a mortgage and all this kind of stuff. So life,
Mm-hmm.
but having that ability to do a lot of work from home means that we can go on a holiday and still get paid, because I
Yeah.
can work whilst I'm away, and it
And
won't
it's
take.
much more like sustainable for you and your family as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I miss, like quite often when I'm at work, I miss the kids getting up, and I'm
Yeah.
not there for the kids getting back home to go to bed. So some mornings, might be a Monday, I turn to my son, I'll see you on Wednesday,
Mm.
and so I'm not really leaving the house, but I'm not there for the mornings and the evenings. So
Yeah.
not great for the family side of things.
Mm.
But this is my kind of step into that side of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very much the way that the fitness industry is going. And for a trainer, it's so much more sustainable. And you're reaching a whole load more clients by not really having to put much more hours into your life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it's very much where I think we'll see the future of the fitness industry going.
Yeah, I think so.
I think gyms will still stay around, but you will have people following programs from trainers from anywhere in the world. And they're
Exactly.
getting that trainer that they really want, that suits their kind of training specific way that they want to go, because everybody likes to train in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean, you even see gyms now are offering, online coaching.
yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, look, the positives of it, you can do it anywhere, anytime, any time
Yeah.
of the day.
I think it's also adaptable since COVID that you can also train at home
Can
with
train at
limited
home.
equipment and still have that trainer.
Yep, yep. People think PT, they go, oh, well, I've got to go to a gym. I don't
Yeah,
like gyms. I don't like people. I don't want to be
exactly.
judged. Well, you don't have to if you don't want to, but
All you need
if you
is a yoga
do want
mat.
to, then you can. And so the online side of things is, if I'm going to work with you as a PT rather than just a cookie cutter program where here's your program, go for it. I
Yeah.
don't care what shape, size, age, gender you are.
Yeah.
This is your program, go for it. That's where you're going to have your problem. But as a PT, if I can go, all right, Ella, these are your goals. This is what you want to do. You want to become a runner right here. Okay, this is what we need to do about it.
Yeah.
So
And it can be as simple as just having a yoga mat and a couple of light weights from like Kmart in your like garage or your living room.
you go, I don't want to go to a gym. I go, no worries, Ella. Like
Here's your shopping list.
that's not an issue. You don't even need a shopping list. Like,
No, but I mean like just go and get some light dumbbells or something and we
maybe.
can work with what you got.
Yeah,
Or a dining room chair, like
we're walking weights.
yeah.
Our body is a walking weight.
True.
We can absolutely use that to the best of our abilities, and then once we surpass that, then we can look at adding some extra weight, and that's great.
Yeah, perfect. From there, so name a sliding door moment in your life so far that's something that's made you kind of turn left or right and change your life.
Yeah, so that's definitely the
Zoom call.
the Zoom call. Yeah, the Zoom call that changed my life. Yeah, I think that was it was positive in the end. So if I had waited until I was 32 to retire, then I wouldn't have had kids when I was 32.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a family with 3 kids now. I wouldn't have my business set up. We wouldn't have a house, although a mortgage. I wouldn't have made like 8 years of mistakes in the business. I'd be making them
2 years in.
yeah, I would have started making them like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that was, in hindsight, it wasn't the worst thing.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, oh, what's going on here? So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, fair. So you're a big park runner, as as shown. But what's the importance of showing your kids like a fit lifestyle, especially through like that park running that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Parkrun actually started through my mate when I was trying to find my feet. So my wife kicked me out of the house. She said, "Go to Perth, spend some time with you to be best man for the wedding." And he is a runner, Chris Lark, and he got me into parkrun. Didn't know it existed at the time. It was only
Very early days.
Yeah, it was Torrens and Victor Harbour, I reckon, or Mount Barker. One of the two were the only park runs in the state, and so I got into that, and then I got my wife into it, and she hates running. Hates running. You think you hate running? This girl hates running. So we got into that, and once that happened, then obviously, it was like church to us.
Yeah.
It was like we're going every Saturday
Just
morning,
a healthy
8 a.m.
one.
Whatever. You're exactly right. And I'm up to 360 or 370. My wife's up to like 330, 340.
Yep.
And
What's your goal to get to? Like, do you have a?
just keep going. Like,
And then you're also your point of trying to do everyone in the state. How's it going?
yeah, it's getting there. it stalled for a little bit. So at the time I was doing it, my in-laws were over from the New South Wales, and it was okay for me to drive to Cleve at 9 p.m. on a Friday night and get back at 2 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
Just to do a 5k run. So it's like 10 and a half hours, 11 hours of driving for
What, 25 minutes of work?
Yeah, about 20, 25. So that's kind of stalled a little bit. But having the kids come out and doing it with us. So we chuck the kids in a pram. You might have seen us the other day. We got 2 strollers. We got one with the twins. So we got a boy and a girl. They're 2.5, and we've got a 4.5-year-old. And so my wife runs with the single, and I run with the double. And every Saturday morning, they know it's park run day, and it's there's no ifs or buts. We're going to park run, and we're catching up with these people, and we're doing this course. And does this course have a playground? Yes, it does. So
how do you get them to sit still, like, aerodynamically enough for 25 minutes of work?
Yeah, look, there's one time we went to Cleveland. They got the Cleveland have a park run. Would you believe? And it's the third hardest park run, or was the third hardest park run in the country.
Yeah.
Based off incline. And you start this course and you run down, and it's all trail. If you've been to Cleveland, it's all trail, and it's rocks and branches and all this kind of stuff. And here I am, like, with my child and bouncing around, and we get down to almost the halfway point. And almost the halfway point, there's this giant hill that goes out to a lookout.
Yeah.
Sure, and at this point, she was screaming, and she was leaning out the side of the pram, and she was grabbing onto almost the wheels, and she was 3.5 at this stage, and she wanted her hair done. And for 3 or 4 years prior, I'd been asking my wife to let me practice on her hair so I could actually, get an understanding of how to do girls' hair. And she wouldn't do it. She's like, "Oh, you hurt me." And right now, I was cursing her. There was this lovely South African lady popped up. I was like, "Oh, she looks like a grandma. She would know how to do hair." She's like, "Oh, can you do this hair?" And her voice just settled Abby, and that was it. But at that point, like, Abby was like reaching out the side of the pram, and like, if I wasn't holding onto it, the pram would have flipped. So there's some days are good days. Like, all parents tell you that, some days kids are angels, and then other days you just want to, walk out of the room, because that'd be the best thing to do. But yeah, so some days you get lucky, some days you don't. The other day I had to give my 2.5-year-old my phone just to watch Spotify. Like, there's nothing on the screen, just watch the phone and hold on to it.
Yeah.
Because listening to it wasn't good enough, and she was just screaming the house down.
What age are you going to let them out the pram and run with you?
So at the age of 4, you can give them a barcode.
Okay.
So you can get a barcode. So Abby's 4.5, and I just suggested to my wife yesterday that maybe this Saturday, because I'm still a little bit injured, that I'll walk with Abby and we'll see how far she can go.
You're going to allow your times to go up to walk with her?
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, Belair. So we're doing Belair, which is a new one, which is one that we haven't done. So we're just ticking another one off. And,
all right. Well, that's walkable.
Yeah. So I was just like, look, let's chuck her on. So we've got those leads, those backpack leads. So I'll have her on one of those just in case, because kids can look around and forget that other people are coming towards them.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes. But I'll have the pram with me just in case. So
watch out, Abby's going to be setting times at the age of 4.5.
Watch out for my clients, eh?
Look who's coming up behind you.
Exactly. Yeah, my daughter's beating you. What are you doing?
Yeah, she's 4.5.
Yeah.
The next part is, what are you consuming at the moment? You probably don't have much time, but as in podcasts, TV shows, what are you reading?
I have a little bit more time than I used to. So my wife and I just chuck on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We just watch Netflix.
I've never seen that.
Look, it's so stupid. It's just it really is stupid, and you just sit there, you just shake your head, but it's one of those. It's one of those we can just sit down. I mean, it's probably the 4th or 5th time we've gone through the series.
Oh, okay.
And we just sit down and we can just have it there and just tune out, almost like watch it and just But there was another one on Netflix, and I had it in my head. Oh, Superstore. I'm not sure if you've seen Superstore.
I've seen like the first episode. I'm like, this is stupid. So
again, it's like
I'm
really
not a fan of a stupid show.
It's like it's one of those mind-numbing things where you can just sit there. You don't have to be absolutely engaged in it. I think that for us, with our lifestyle as
I
is.
think I'm the opposite. If I watch something, I need to be engaged to block everything out rather than watching something mind-numbingly to... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 3 kids will do it to you.
Yeah, well, don't have that yet.
Nah, that's fine. And
And in terms of podcasts and...
podcast crime.
Okay.
I don't mind listening to crime. So I'll listen to The Teacher's Pet. I'm not sure if you've heard of The Teacher's Pet.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it?
It's on my list to listen to
It's
because I
good.
listen to so many.
Look, I mean, I won't ruin it for you, but I feel like
I know the
feel
story.
like you know
I
the
read
story.
all the news articles about it.
Yeah, so that was really engaging, and then I'm listening to another one. It's called The Frankston Murders.
Okay.
I was listening to it on the way here actually, and it's interesting. Trying to work out how people's minds work.
Yeah. Well then, yeah, very.
I'd be a psychologist if I was like a psychiatrist if I was smarter.
In another life.
In another life.
If you did it all over again without the squash career, is that what you'd be doing?
I don't know. I think the thought or the idea of something is sometimes better than
Actually doing it.
Actually doing it. So people go, oh, PT is great. You can do this, you can do that. You got plenty of flexibility. And then all of a sudden you're given a client and you're like, oh, I don't want to work with that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, the listener questions. So,
yes.
Since you work for Big On Fitness Adelaide, I sent a message out to some of your favourite members.
Awesome.
Or they call you the favourite trainer. The first one was, where do you find your motivation to keep your own fitness and well-being?
Yeah. I think as a trainer, you've got to present an image for starters.
Yeah.
So presenting that image is important to me, but also challenging myself. I think the name Push Your Limits personal training didn't come out by like chance. It was when I was an athlete, I did everything to the best of my ability. Maybe my racket skills weren't as good as the people that I was competing with at the time.
Yeah.
But my fitness ability, something that I was in full control of, was exceeded theirs, and that kind of kept me in and around that area. And I think with my running, like you go to parkrun and people go, oh, parkrun, and they roll their eyes and all this kind of stuff. But
yeah, but there's actually records being made in this.
Absolutely. But everyone's out there making a record, Yeah. So, you rock up, let's say, and you run 40 minutes or 45 minutes and you go, oh, whatever. And then you go again and you do 44 minutes and 32 seconds and you go, ooh. And there's like there's a PB next to your name and you're like, oh, okay. And then you go out for a run during the week and you go the next week to parkrun and you got it down to 43 minutes flat now. You're like, oh, what can I do? And you start asking yourself questions. What can I do? Go to a
flatter course.
and there's that. And, how do I improve? And then you start training a bit more during the week. And that's kind of where it starts for a lot of people,
Yeah.
So that's my motivation, just to see what I can get out of myself.
Yeah.
But then if I'm not doing it, if I'm not exercising myself and not pushing myself, then who am I to tell my clients, hey, you can do this, or you should be doing this, or, we've got to get off our backsides and actually, find a way to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing it, then they'll see that. And then,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What's the funniest or most frustrating excuse given by people for not training?
Oh.
That honestly, we could write a book on what a couple of our members say.
Yeah.
The seniors card one gets used a lot.
Don't have time.
Yep.
I'm too old.
Oh, that's one used very often, and we tell them that they still are there and they're still moving.
Yeah. I think don't have time.
Yeah.
Don't have time is a huge one, and it annoys me because there's a difference. I don't think it's got nothing to do with you don't have time. It's not a priority. If you got a list of priorities, so you got a list of priorities 1 to 5, and you get the first 4 done, and the 5th one's training, and you're like, oh, I ran out of time, can't do it, or oh, hang on, my friends just invited me around to their place. I will make that number 6, so we'll just bump out number 5.
Yeah.
And so that's generally what happens. You it's not that you don't have time. Training's not a priority. Some of the people that I work with say, doesn't matter if I don't get my sleep, doesn't matter if I'm not feeling great, doesn't matter anything that I got planned for the day. I'm going to get up early and I'm going to get that exercise in, because once I get the exercise in, the rest of the day you can just,
It makes it so much better. Once you train in the morning, I find like the rest of the day naturally goes better because you've already got like the adrenaline rush or like the rush of hormones going.
Yeah, the endorphins are there, and it's one less thing you have to worry about. Like even I like get worried about a training session. It's like, oh, I have to do that 15K session and I'm just going to hurt and, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if I can get up first thing, do it at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning before my clients, get it done, get to my session. All right, now, like,
Good to go.
let's go. Like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
The next one is breakfast necessary before cardio? So like eating something before you get there, better, or is it fasting better?
Yeah, there's more of a nutritionist question, but
Just from like your experience.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of both.
I think it really depends on the person as well.
It does. So it depends what you eat as well. So if I'm doing a big training session, then I definitely eat because our bodies are like cars, right? I want to get from here A to B, and I've got 90Ks in the car, 90Ks of fuel in the car, and it's a 100K trip. I'm probably not going to get there, unless I push the thing. And it's the same with our body. If we don't refuel, then we're not going to make it to our target point. And us not making it to the target point might simply be like we pass out, we just physically just can't do it anymore, or we injure ourselves.
Would you say there's a limit? So if you're doing like a half an hour workout, just something quick, like a quick run or like a 5K, maybe don't bother. Like it's not necessary to eat, but if you're doing anything over maybe 45 minutes, an hour, and it's like a cardio session, maybe just a banana or something to start with.
It depends what you're doing it for as well. Like, you know, weight loss is a big one. And that question gets brought up when people are thinking about weight loss.
Yeah.
Like if I don't eat, then that's less calories in my body. And then if I train, then I'm going to be burning all these calories and I'm not going to be consuming these ones.
Yeah.
But what actually happens quite often is like if by just nibbling on something, we're getting our system started and we're burning, we're kicking out the metabolism. So by kicking out the metabolism, all right, so now we're burning more calories and now we're doing exercise. So now we're just getting like a double hit. Whereas people think, oh, if I don't eat, so not eating breakfast is a big one.
Yeah.
I don't eat breakfast. Why am I gaining weight? Well, metabolism's slowing down.
Yeah. What do you think about, so if you did an early morning session and you ate straight after instead of eating before?
Look, I'm always a big fan of eating before if I can. There's sometimes I don't, but if I was to talk to a client about it, I would say grab something small, be it an apple, something, whatever, before, and then afterwards, have a bigger meal. Like that's what I would tell my clients anyway.
Fair enough. All right. Any good life lessons, good or bad, that you've learnt from your clients?
Life lessons. I've trained a few people who are really high up in like management, in councils, and I've worked with OTs who, so every now and then they'll just pop out this amazing piece of advice for me, and one of them was having an access circle.
Okay.
Nicole, if you're listening, basically, you've got a whole heap of let's say you got 5 qualities, right? That you hold pretty high, honesty, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if I come into your friend circle and I don't display all those qualities, maybe I display 3, then I'm not gonna be right up high on that list.
Yep.
Of your access. You're not going to grant me as much access.
Okay.
And so now we're eliminating our title, and it's more about the person that we are. So even your parents, they would go on that list. So if your parents don't meet your 5 qualities, then you don't give them the same access.
Okay.
Rather than going, well, they're my parents, or they're my family, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
So kind of like in a quick way of saying it, how much they add to your life. If they add a lot, then you see them more. If they don't, you see them less.
Exactly. If they meet your qualities and values, then they're in.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
And they can go up and down. They can go up and down as you go along. But I thought that was a big one, because how often do we spend, how much time do we spend with people that we just like hit our head against the wall and go, we want to get out of here. Like,
and
I
then
can't
after
believe
you're
that
like,
person.
oh, that was a waste of time.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's a good one. Next one was tips to increase times for running without needing to add in walking. So this is from our 85-year-old member, Spectacular, and she is other members' inspiration.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. And I think to increase your, like, improve your time, I would be suggesting more interval interval work. So not necessarily running longer, but running quicker for shorter periods of time. So going above what you currently run.
Yep.
So let's say I'm running, 5-minute Ks for over 5Ks. Then I'd want to do some intervals where I'm running at 4 minutes 30 for over a period of time, and then or 4 minutes, and then going back to 5 minutes or 5 minutes 30. So kind of giving your body that look of what running faster could look like.
Yeah.
I think that's an important one. And it would be part of most plans anyway.
Yeah. All right, now to my favourite part is 5 fast questions. Oh. If you've heard the pod before, it's choose a number between 1 and 20.
Yep.
And it's the first thing that comes to mind. You literally have to spit it out.
Pretty sure. Didn't someone say 36 once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm not going to do that. 34, no. 20.
All right, number 20. What's your biggest fear?
Heights.
Okay.
Yeah, falling from them.
Falling or just heights in general?
Well, yeah.
Or like getting close to the edge knowing that you could fall?
Yeah. I think I look at a situation. I think about the worst possible thing that could happen.
Have you ever skydived?
Have not.
Oh.
I did hold up the Adelaide. What's the Adelaide roof walk?
Yeah.
I held them up by a good 15, 20 minutes because I wasn't worried that my connection would break. I was concerned that the whole structure would fall.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I actually, I'm like that with height, but being near the edge. But that one I was actually alright on, and I've skydived and I was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Yep. 6.
The 6 on your Instagram page. What do you see a lot of?
I don't really go on Instagram.
Or social media. What's on your social media?
What's on my social media? See a lot of running.
Okay.
A lot of running.
I feel like that always tells you a lot about somebody, what your algorithm is giving out.
Yeah, a lot of running, pickleball, and a bit of squash.
Nice. All right, next number.
2.
Okay, number 2 is coffee with somebody dead or alive. Who are you having it with?
Oh, never really thought of that.
First thing that comes to your mind. Stop thinking.
My granddad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. All right, next one.
9.
Okay, number 9. Which is spirit animal?
Something that runs a lot.
Like a cheetah or something?
Yeah. Greyhound, I don't know.
Yeah. What lays you on the side but runs a lot?
Yeah, exactly right. just napping during the middle of the day but running in the morning.
Yep, fair enough. All right, last one.
19.
Number 19 is, if the Olympics call, what sport are you going in for? It doesn't have to be what you're good at. So if they said you go to Paris next year and we've got a spot in a sport.
Yeah. I'd love the marathon.
Oh, yeah?
I would love the marathon. I'd want to be good at it, but I'd love the marathon.
Well, you got how many months to train?
Not enough. LA, still not enough.
Yeah, well, okay. See you in Paris.
See you in Paris.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time having a chat today.
Oh, thank you.
It was a good in-depth one about your career in squash and how you got to where you are in your career.
Thank you very much.
Training people.
Yeah.
And thanks for working for me.
Hey, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's been good to listen to these podcasts the last year or so. Year now?
6 months?
6 months.
6 months, but yeah, we're going good.
I'm not going to say it feels like a year because that's...
It honestly does. But we got some big guests have just booked in for this season, so apart from you, but...
Apart from me?
No, like as well as... As well as you, we got some big guests coming on for season 2, so it's exciting.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Look forward to listening.
Thanks. Justin's such an incredible trainer, and just through his experience of where he got to in playing squash and getting to 98th in the world, it's quite insane. It's so nice to watch a dad of 3 young kids and how he inspires them to, just go for a run, even if it's just in the pusher at the local park run to start with.